Welcome to Rauta Sonic Trio. Once again, we have 3 different albums from 3 different parts of the world and also 3 different styles. These are all a little bit older. Once again, coming out of my, let's say, older recordings box, meaning these have been waiting for their turn for quite a bit because delivered already as old ones. First, quick look, alphabetical order, and then where's the best according to my own opinion. Feel free to disagree. First, from France, we have Barus with an MCD called Fanges. Then we have Malignant Altar from United States of America. And then finally Sulphurous from Denmark. These latter 2 ones are death metal and the first one is more complicated. So let's shuffle these a bit and go from worst to best according to my own opinion and move on from that. More information is all, of course, with the links provided, as well as probably some musical samples. First, we have this band called Barus with Fanges, and this is only 2 songs, about 30 and some minutes, and this is a curious one. First of all, this is a kind of a band that it's hard to put into one box. I think Metal Archive still calls this progressive death metal, and while that might have applied to the band's music at some point, now it feels a little bit outdated because the music has changed throughout the years. I've reviewed one previous recording by the band, and as you can see, this digipack doesn't have a booklet, so it's very, very simplistic, but somehow very beautiful 3-folding one, including lyrics for these 2 songs, which you might have seen, and that's pretty much of it. So the music is more like post-metal with some sludge in the mix as well as some death metal, and as you can already figure out, having some 30 minutes and then some with 2 songs mean the songs are extra lengthy. Now you might have your hipster mustache swinging about like, okay, it's gonna be interesting. It's a hybrid genre with tech death or prog death, and then you have some sludge, you have some post metal, and those lengthy songs. So people who are very, very much like, yes, something different, something out of ordinary, something atypical, they might be actually in for the treatment here. I'm meaning this that if you're coming from, say, typical death metal background or even progressive death metal background, you might actually feel disappointed. I feel that this momentum is more like the band is finally figuring out what they really want to do instead of doing some kind of a death metal, which isn't that good with the band or wasn't the case. So this time they are moving on, and after a couple of releases before this one, I guess it didn't take that much time really for them to change. So they are moving, I guess, to a new direction. But like I said, this is already a little bit older, so who knows what might have happened past couple of years since this one was, conceived. But interesting one, but a little bit of a transition phase album if you ask me. Then we have this band Sulphurous, and this is from Denmark. Already, I think at least 3 years old. This was, or maybe actually 21 now that I'm thinking of it. Came late to the party, and as such, I haven't been hurrying with this one. Metal Archive says the band is now on hold, so don't even know if it's active anymore, but there was some release from year 2023 as I was picking information and the links for this particular review. This is old school death metal with a little bit of thrash in the mix, which I guess is kind of a self-explanatory default setting for a lot of death metal things going old ways. So as I've been saying in many my reviews, old school death metal revival has been very, very much going on, and this is no exception. Fundamentally, they do things all right. The soundscape is pretty rusty or kind of organic. It's not very like high polished modern things, but more like old school ways. And the music within is more like, yeah, let's do some old school riffing and make it sound like this could have come already in the 90s. Basically, it is doing it just fine, but the problem is there are millions of these kind of bands. Not literally, obviously, but thousands and thousands, which means how does this compare to a lot of those veterans which did things great already back in the days? not too shabby. I mean, it's definitely worth a listen and all. I can really bitch about the production being against the grain these days, but then again, nothing out of ordinary, nothing really memorable is happening here. So once again, this is the kind of a B-level death metal, which is kind of fun to listen for a while. But if you ask me about after a couple of spins, hey, how was it? Like, did you get any specific songs or parts that really moved you? I'm like, no. The atmosphere is right there. The production is solid. The growls are solid, but nothing out of ordinary in very, very many ways. So kind of a nice, but no cigar. Only a little bit better comes from United States is Malignant Altar, and I was told by Metal Archive site once again that this band has been disbanded ever since. So unfortunately, a little bit late to the party with these two Dark Descent Records releases, one on hold and one split up, it seems. Now, much like Sulphurous, this is also old school death metal, and things are much the same. Maybe a little bit less thrashy, maybe a little bit more dirty and gruesome, more death-like. And while there's nothing fundamentally wrong, pretty much the same things apply to this one as the previous one. Meaning, if you're looking for certain, say, originality, memorability, catchiness, grooviness, certain kind of like, this is really on par with the old school legendary bands, you are kind of bound to be disappointed. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with this album either. But much like Sulphurous, this is very much like Work in Progress, the kind of a typical first album. And after that, you're really like, okay, now we're nailing it. Now we're making better songs and all. But unfortunately, if the truth is what it is supposed to be, that is, the band is split up, I don't know if there's nothing to really like, hey, we're gonna come up with a new album and make it even better. But if you like old school death metal and don't really need the veteran level A-class top tier material, these are both, very, very solid choices. So obviously you decide for yourself. And since the links are in the description box, why not check it out? And I hope you like them. Now, off you go, give it a listen or give it not, up to you. Bye bye.